Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. I am your host Peg. We are at a new, slightly different location. Hi Daisy. Come on up here. We're sitting in my little back chair that you might see in the back of my videos. We've got the new camera, and we've got it just set up here for me to, and there's Roxy. They had to get on, there's Daisy. They wanted to get on screen, right? Say hello to your adoring fans, Roxy. So I thought I would do a book haul in the comfort of my lowrider chair, right in front of my history shelves, this way sign, and just my books in general. Also like a test run for this camera, which I'm hoping the audio is nice and crisp and clear for everybody. I've got no microphone to dither with and fooster with. Whoops, I just knocked over my pile of books to show you. It's going to be interesting. They just got in trouble, so that's why they're wanting to be on me. We had to break out the big voice. Yeah, I think Roxy was chewing carpeting on the stairwell, just ripped up some of it. So she's going through her little, I don't know, teenage angst years. Who knows? But not happy about that. But what I'm happy about are some of these books I got. So let's get into it. As you know, as I have said on the channel before, that I went on a bit of a book buying bender in December, and books, you know, I still have a lot of things to film for you, and so if I were to take this camera and pan around the room right now, you'd see some boxes and stuff, so I'm not going to do that right now. I want to get these logged and shown to you so that I can start shelving. I do have a new shelving project coming up. I made the investment in 3 IKEA cases that are not the Billy bookcases. They're way nice. They're way nicer, and they're for the master bedroom, which are going to have white shelving. So trying to get that theme going, but those arrive on Tuesday, and Martine said she can put them together. Thank goodness, I hope so, because I don't know how to do that. And then I'm going to have 3 big bookcases to start filling in the master bedroom. Of course, I've already got some shelves up in there now, but I think those we're going to start to get rid of and donate. I have ideas for this room. I need a few more cases from IKEA, but I need to do this in stages because it's pretty expensive. I've got 3 shelves that is 3 bookcases, and each bookcase was $300 each, so you do the math. Plus shipping and tax. Woo! It's an investment. So I will have room for a lot of these books that came in. Okay, but having said that, hi everybody, and it's an overcast Sunday here in Denver, Colorado, or just outside Denver, I should say, Frederick, Colorado. Little small town life. So I have, the books I'm going to show you came from 2 separate orders that I did. And then I have one final book outlet. Hey, don't do that. She's looking for things to chew. She's bored, and I don't know. We give her chew toys and rawhides, but get up here, you're being a bad girl. But anyway, I'll have one more book outlet haul for you, hopefully in the next week. And I still have 2 Hamilton book hauls to do for you. I have theology books I want to show you. So many new theology books. I'm going to do a spotlight on InterVarsity Press. They've been sending me some really awesome new releases. I have gone shopping at Reformation Heritage Books, thanks to Johnny Keene. Shout out to Johnny Keene for making me aware of that wonderful bookstore in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have purchased a bunch of things from them, especially at the end of the year when they were doing Christmas sales. These 2 are kissing. They really do love each other. They play together. They kiss each other. They clean each other's ears. They're funny. So I've got a lot of books to show you, and then I want to start, I've got to do I'm just talking out loud right now. I'm just kind of playing with this camera, but I do need to do a update on my Historathon choices, which I think I've pretty much let everyone know what they are, but I'll make an update video. At least. Okay, so these 2 book outlet purchases have a combination of history, there's fiction, biography, And yeah, that should do her. It's a mixture of hardcover and softcover. So let's start with the history, right? You know, that's what you guys are here for. This was marked down to like $8 or something, and when I was comparing the price to Amazon or Barnes and Noble, it was a really big drop, and it's a big thick chunkster of a biography, literary biography, and I love reading literary biographies. I always have, ever since I was just reading everything I could on Virginia Woolf and the whole Bloomsbury Circle. Just loved it. So I love reading the lives of artists, writers, composers, things like that. So I picked up Speak Silence in Search of W.G. Sebald, yeah, by Carol Angier. This was put out by Bloomsbury Publishing. As you can see, this is a very big book. Yeah, it's over 600 pages. Let's see, W.G. Sebald, let me put my glasses on for that. What? So W.G. Sebald was one of the most extraordinary and influential writers of the 20th century, and I've been wanting to read his work, and I do have one of his works from, it's a New York Review of Books Classics, which I have another, that's another book buying bender I went on. They had a flash sale back in, I think, November or December, and I bought more of New York Review of Book Classics, so that's another haul I'll have to show you. Anyway, continuing on. I'm not sure how long the camera records for, but we'll find out. So, through books including The Emigrants, Austerlitz, and The Rings of Saturn, which I think is the one I picked up, he pursued an original literary vision that combined fiction, history, autobiography, and photography, and addressed some of the most profound themes, yes, my goodness, of contemporary literature. The Burden of the Holocaust, oh my gosh, Dogs Take Over Video, Memory, Loss, and Exile. The first biography to explore his life and work, Speak Silence pursues the true Sebald through the memories of those who knew him and through the work he left behind. I like to read about authors even before I read them. I just like knowing their history, and I think that it kind of feeds into my ability to understand the material, you know, the content that they put out or have put out. I need that contextual grounding. And it helps me, rather than just picking up a book cold, not knowing who this person is or was. So this is why I really wanted to pick this up. This quest takes Carol Angier from Sebald's birth as a second-generation German at the end of the Second World War through his rejection of the poisoned inheritance of the Third Reich, to his emigration to England, exploring the choice of isolation and exile that drove his work. It digs deep into a creative mind on the edge, finding profound empathy and paradoxical ruthlessness, saving humor, and an elusive mix of fact and fiction in his life as well as work. The result is a long-awaited, ferociously original portrait. So that is this right here. So I'm very happy I was able to pick that up. Whoa! For relatively cheap. Okay. Trying to make room over here. And then another interesting biography I picked up. Also another literary biography. Also by Bloomsbury Publishing. And I think these are actually the UK versions. They don't normally have covers like this in America. And there's not a way for me to describe it. I think you just know when you see it. You're like, yeah, that's a UK version. This is an author I haven't read yet, but I have one of his books on a Folio Society. Folio Society, beautifully bound books, and I have it, it's Greenfield or Green something. Anyway, this is, let me get this here. Okay, here we go. This is Beyond the 39 Steps, A Life of John Buchan, and it's by Ursula Buchan. Again, this is, I'm pretty sure this is the UK version. Yeah, so we know he wrote the 39 Steps. I have another one of his books. Begins I think it's green something. Greenfield, not green sleeves. I don't know. Anyway, this one was like $7 or $8 on Book Outlet, so I picked it up. John Buchan's name is known across the world for the 39 Steps. In the past 100 years, the classic thriller has never been out of print and has inspired numerous adaptations for film, television, radio, and stage, beginning with the celebrated version by Alfred Hitchcock. Yet there was vastly more to J.B. He wrote about 100 books, fiction and nonfiction, and 1,000 articles for newspapers and magazines. He was a scholar, antiquarian, barrister, colonial administrator, journal editor, literary critic, publisher, war correspondent, director of wartime propaganda, member of Parliament and Imperial Proconsul, given a state funeral when he died, a deeply admired and loved Governor-General of Canada. His teenage years in Glasgow, where his father was a free church minister, contributed to his ease with shepherds and ambassadors, fur trappers, and prime ministers. His improbable marriage to a member of the aristocratic Grosvenor family means that this account of his life contains, at its heart, an enduring love story. Ursula Buchan, his granddaughter, has drawn on recently discovered family documents to write this comprehensive biography. With perception, style, wit, and a penetratingly clear eye, she brings vividly to life this remarkable man and his time. So I'm sure it's going to be very flattering for Grandpa. But I thought it was, a good one to have. I do have his work, or one of his works. I do need to read 39 Steps. Oh, so another along the lines of biography, and it's a work that I want to get into, and I've been trying to track down the volumes. It's, I think, 5 volumes. I've seen it on Mark Richardson's channel. I've seen it on other people's channels. They have 1 or 2 volumes, or maybe the whole set, and I'm trying to track down and get the whole set. I bought the first volume used. I haven't shown it yet in this channel, but it's downstairs. And then they had one of them on Book Outlet. Now, I should have known it would have been not the original printing. It's this lightweight, cheap paper with a naked hardcover, so whatever. But it's Dumas Malone's. I'm sure this is the 3rd volume in his biography of Thomas Jefferson. So this is Jefferson and the Ordeal of Liberty. As you can see, it's a naked hardcover, no dust jacket. Pages are very it's not the best. This is how that George Washington biography that I bought multi-volumes for, 2 of them were like this. So I'm not sure. This is not even something they can't even sell this version because there's no pricing on it. So I don't know if this was a rip-off book club edition, but anyway. So I have the 3rd volume. I mean, it'll work. I'm not gonna stress about it. Now I ordered the other volumes on Thrift Book, and they were going to arrive in December. Well, then I noticed that it was using, for some reason, that my form of payment had my old address on it. And of course I have mail forwarding for at least a year since we moved last year in February, but not for packages. So it said it was delivered, and I'm guessing it was just delivered at my old address, but it said it was forwarded. I don't know where those books ended up. I did get the refund because I never got them. But now I can't, those versions that I bought, which were like used like new, they're gone. So right now I have volumes 1 and 3. So I'm trying to hunt down volumes 2, 4, and 5. So I'm on the hunt, but I did find this one at Book Outlet. Again, Dumas Malone, I guess, wrote 5 volumes. It's supposed to be a stellar biography. You know, I never get tired of reading biographies on the Founding Fathers. You know, I could have read a bunch, but I like to read. I just like to keep refreshing my memory about all these old dudes. You know. All right, so I think that covers biography for the most part. So I was really happy to find this book. It was severely marked down, and I'm like, that's amazing. Nice brand new hardcover, 1st edition. Of a writer I followed for years, since the 90s, Robert D Kaplan. Robert D Kaplan, fantastic. So, but he's got a new biography out, and this is put out by Random House. You see that okay? This is The Good American, the epic life of Bob Gersony, the U.S. government's greatest humanitarian. I got this for like $2. I mean, it was super cheap. Super cheap on Book Outlet. I think they have tons more left if you want to maybe take a look. In his long career as an acclaimed journalist covering the hot moments of the Cold War and its aftermath, best-selling author Robert D. Kaplan often found himself crossing paths with a man named Bob Gersony, a consultant for the U.S. State Department, whose quiet dedication and consequential work, often underappreciated, made a deep impression on Kaplan. Gersony, a high school dropout later awarded a Bronze Star for service in Vietnam, conducted on-the-ground research for the U.S. government in virtually every war and natural disaster zone in the world. In Thailand, Central and South America, Sudan, Chad, Mozambique, Rwanda, Gaza, Bosnia, North Korea, Iraq, and beyond, Gersony never flinched from entering dangerous areas that diplomats could not reach, sometimes risking his life in order to better understand the nature of a conflict. Gersony's behind-the-scenes fact-finding, which included interviews with hundreds of refugees and displaced persons from each war zone and natural disaster area, often challenged the assumptions and received wisdom of the powers that be on both the left and the right. For years he worked with his notebook in hand, getting to the truth of what was going on, so as to inform the decisions and policies made back home. In nearly every case, his advice and recommendations made American policy at once smarter and more humane, often dramatically so. So in Gersony, Kaplan saw a powerful example of how American diplomacy should be conducted, with a clear eye toward facts on the ground. And he found a paradigmatic approach to the world in which humanitarian and realpolitik considerations were not mutually exclusive. In the midst of the tension and proxy battles of the Cold War, Gersony's clear-eyed reports and recommendations not only preserved the United States' strategic goals, but they also saved the lives of the most vulnerable around the world, regardless of political alignment. So, in this book, Robert D. Kaplan shares Gersony's powerful life story. And I'd never heard of this man, so I'm looking forward to learning about him. And I just really enjoy Robert Kaplan's work. God, such a huge preponderance of books by him, and I any one of them you'll benefit from. Learning about just geopolitical issues, different countries, what they're dealing with, foreign policy. He's fantastic. I started off reading The Coming Anarchy, and it's dated now for sure, but it was, I think, fairly prescient in many ways. Okay, so this one was dirt cheap on bookoutlet.com, so if you're interested, check them out. Alright, moving on to, let's move on to this one real quick. I collect the works of Neil, and I read the works of Neil Ferguson. He's part of the Hoover Institution. I follow the podcast, the Goodfellows podcast that he does. Oh, with H.R. McMaster. The other guy, he's an economist, and then the host. But I enjoy that podcast. It's a YouTube video podcast. But I've read his books, most of them. And I've been meaning, I was waiting for the price for this to go down, and it finally did. Because I definitely wanted to read his latest book, which is Doom, The Politics of Catastrophe. It's put out by Penguin Press. So it was at a good price on Book Outlet. Stop. My dogs. I got Daisy on my lap. Then go check it out. I'm trying to make a video. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. All right, we have a delivery. Got some HelloFresh. I needed to have some dinner options. I'm not a great cook. I need ideas, I don't know what the hell to make half the time, but okay, so what is Doom about? Like I said, I've got a lot of his works. I enjoy his thinking, his writing, his analysis. It says here, setting the annus horribilis of 2020 in historical perspective, Neil Ferguson explains why we are getting worse, not better, at handling disasters. Disasters are inherently hard to foresee. Pandemics like earthquakes, wildfires, financial crises, and wars are not normally distributed. There is no cycle of history to help us anticipate the next catastrophe. But when disaster strikes, we ought to be better prepared than the Romans when Vesuvius erupted, or medieval Britons when the Black Death struck. We have science on our side, after all. Yet in 2020, the responses of many developed countries, including the U.S., to a new virus from China were badly bungled. Why? Why did only a few Asian countries learn the right lessons from SARS and MERS? While populist leaders certainly performed poorly in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, Ferguson argues that more profound pathologies were at work, pathologies already visible in our responses to earlier disasters. In books going back nearly 20 years, including Colossus, The Great Degeneration, and The Square and the Tower, Ferguson has studied the foibles of modern America, from imperial hubris to bureaucratic sclerosis and online fragmentation. So Doom offers not just a history, but a general theory of disaster, showing why our ever more bureaucratic and complex systems are getting worse at handling them. Anyway, so this, and here's our author. We know that guy's face, right? We know this dude. He's married to Ayaan Hirsi Ali of much fame. She's got the books, Nomad, Heretic. Her latest one, Prey, which I have. I want to get to that very soon. But I want to get to all these books very soon, you know what I'm saying? So, I just had to have it because I'm a completionist and I enjoy his work and I follow this guy. So, picked up Doom. Alright, continuing on. I picked up this book because I just cannot get enough of African history or analysis of its current situation, its place within the geopolitics of the world, and I just love reading about it. But this was marked down, and I hadn't heard of it, and I wanted to check it out. It's called The Rift. A New Africa Breaks Free by Alex Perry. It's put out by Little Brown. This came out 2015. So, 7-8 years ago. Let's see here. Africa has long been misunderstood and abused by outsiders. The largest and most diverse continent on Earth, it resists pat narratives and the one-size-fits-all solutions of aid workers and policymakers. In this evocative, poetic, and occasionally angry look at an emerging continent, award-winning journalist Alex Perry acknowledges its complexity and dares to ask and answer the most difficult questions. How will Africa's growth change it, and our idea of it, and even of ourselves? Can't read all of this. Let's see here. With both empathy and skepticism, Perry observes a rapidly globalizing landscape filled with the violent turmoil, rampant corruption, and economic challenges that most readers know, but also a continent sensing the end of an epic, centuries-old quest for liberation. Beginning with a stunning investigation into a largely unreported war crime in Somalia in 2011, Perry serves as a bracing, ever-questioning guide, uncovering shocking and revealing stories that have never been told. Traveling across all 49 sub-Saharan countries, he meets entrepreneurs and warlords, professors and cocaine smugglers, presidents and jihadists, from the drug ports of Guinea-Bissau and the genocide crypts of Rwanda to the remaking of Lagos, Africa's biggest city, and a homestay with Barack Obama's family in Western Kenya. Perry finds communities changing quickly, deeply, and unevenly, but ultimately breaking free. It's a culmination of almost a decade of on-the-ground reporting. Oh yes, I want to read this lady's book too. Written with the insight of Dambisa Moyo's Dead Aid, which is the book I want to read. The breadth of Why Nations Fail and the intensity of a John le Carré novel, the book will transform your understanding of Africa's past and its imminent future. Oh, that's a beautiful insert. It's flower farming in Ethiopia. And I didn't realize there were color pictures in here. Oh. This is beautiful. Just having this. I love reading about Africa, you know. And I'm reading a book right now for review called I Am Still With You. And it's about a son trying to reconnect to his family roots and what happened in the Nigerian Civil War in the 1960s. So, and it actually starts out in Lagos. So, the Great Rift Valley. Out of devastation comes life. So there's a lot of, this looks like a stunning read. Color photos, probably his own photos. Some of them are very, there's some disturbing images in here as well, but that continent has just been through it. But The Rift by Alex Perry, and it was, again, really marked down. I thought it was a good pickup. Where am I getting down to? I'm going to try to put the... Actually, I only have one fiction on this whole one. Okay, so this one I only have one fiction. We'll save that towards the very end. Okay. So this book, this is the last hardcover, I think. This book I have already read, and I reviewed it for Shelf Awareness sometime last year, but it stuck with me. And it made me want to learn more about these people and about this movement, this intellectual movement. And it was it's also part of a feature in a new book I recently purchased, or got a review copy for, Magnificent Rebels by Andrea. I think it's Andrea Wolf. But this is Yena, 1800. The Republic of Free Spirits. This is by Peter Newman, translated by Shelley Frisch. So I had read a advanced review copy of this. So I didn't have just some of the beautiful artwork in here. I mean, it's not color, but I didn't have, you know what? I loved it so much, I just wanted to have this. I really enjoyed it, and it's a very slim little read. And you can check out my review of Shelf Awareness. You can just check by my name, or just type in Yena 1800. And I wrote a review on it. Real quickly, I'll just give you a refresher on what it's about. At the turn of the 19th century, a steady stream of young German poets and thinkers coursed to the town of Jena to make history. In the wake of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, confidence in traditional social, political, and religious norms had been replaced by a profound uncertainty that was as terrifying for some as it was exhilarating for others. Nowhere was the excitement more palpable than among the extraordinary group of poets, philosophers, translators, and socialites who gathered in Jena. This village of just 4,000 residents soon became the place to be for the young and intellectually curious in search of philosophical disruption. Influenced by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, then an elder statesman and artistic eminence, the leading figures among the disruptors, the translator August Wilhelm Schlegel, the philosophers Friedrich Schlegel and Friedrich Schelling, the dazzling, controversial intellectual Caroline Schlegel, married to August, the poet and translator Dorothea Schlegel, married to Friedrich, and the poets Ludwig Tieck and Novalis, resolved to rethink the world to establish a republic of free spirits. They didn't just question inherited societal traditions. With their provocative views of the individual and of nature, they revolutionized our understanding of freedom and reality. Again, I really enjoyed this book. It made me want to learn more about these people, the whole romantic movement, German Romanticism, and that's going to lead me into reading the Magnificent Rebels. I've shown that before in another video, but I picked that up. So. Yeah, this is just a book I wanted to have. I can highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. If you enjoy philosophy, history of art, ideas, you can't go wrong. This is it's a quick read, and it might just be like your doorway into, more reading it in that area. Which I am now proceeding. I am progressing along in that path. See how it works that way. Now this book, my friend John David, who is another booktuber, It's so funny that he told me that this one video he did, this book review of this book, he's got the most views on ever. It's like some 7,000 views. I'm like, wow, this must be a really popular book in history. And I tried ordering this one before, and it was in that batch of books I showed you guys where I talked about where the books came mangled, like they were in a, you know, a thresher. It was crazy. And so this book got seriously jacked up. I got my refund back, and I had to recycle the book because there's just no one could use it. So I tried ordering it again, see what happens, and I finally got a copy that was okay. And this is The 20 Years Crisis, 1919 to 1939, by Edward Hallett Carr. It's an introduction to the study of international relations. So John David has a whole book review on this, and it's one of his most famous, most popular book reviews ever. So I was just very curious about this. I'm like, well, maybe I should check it out. I don't know. I don't have a blurb here. I'll just read one of the blurbs that says, "This book is a monument to the human power of sane and detached analysis. In its examination of the collapse of the international system, it is utterly devoid of national bias or that bitter denunciation of governments and men which marks so much recent literature dealing with the crisis. In the development of this thesis, Professor Carr has produced one of the most significant contributions to the systematic study of the theory of international politics that this reviewer has seen in years," and that was by W.P. Maddox, writing in the American Political Science Review. So some of the chapter headings we have here: a preface to the first and second editions. Part 1 is the science of international politics. Part 2 covers the international crisis. Part 3, politics, power, and morality. And Part 4, law and change. So yeah, it should be an interesting work. And then I can go back and read John David's review. No spoilers, John. And then see what he had to say about this book right here. All right. Next book I got. I bought this one in conjunction with a book I knew I was buying on Hamilton book by this author. I've been wanting to get it. John Guy. And I think maybe many of you are familiar with him. And the other book I purchased, which will be in a Hamilton book haul, was a biography on Elizabeth I. But they had this softcover paperback, trade paperback edition of this lady. And I'm always trying to look for the best biography on her. And it is Queen of Scots, The True Life of Mary Stuart, by John Guy. As you can see here, it says now a major motion picture. I haven't watched it yet. I kind of want to read more about her before I do. And it's a big, as you can see, it's a big book. By Mariner Books. In the first full-scale biography of Mary Stuart in more than 30 years, John Guy creates an intimate and absorbing portrait of one of history's greatest women. Depicting her world and her place in the sweep of history with stunning immediacy. Bringing together all surviving documents and uncovering a trove of new sources, for the first time, Guy dispels the popular image of Mary, Queen of Scots, as a romantic leading lady, achieving her ends through feminine wiles, and establishes her as the intellectual and political equal of Elizabeth I. Through Guy's pioneering research and superbly readable prose, we come to see Mary as a skillful diplomat, maneuvering ingeniously among a dizzying array of factions that sought to control or dethrone her. Queen of Scots is an enthralling, myth-shattering look at a complex woman and ruler and her time. So there you have it. I picked that one up. Okay, next one up. This one sounded really interesting to me. It appeals to me. This is called Christians Against Christianity: How Right-Wing Evangelicals Are Destroying Our Nation and Our Faith, by Aubrey M. Hendricks, Jr. It's put out by Beacon Press. Today's right-wing evangelical Christianity stands as the very antithesis of the message of Jesus Christ. In his new book, Aubrey Hendricks challenges right-wing evangelicals on the terrain of their own religious claims exposing the falsehoods, contradictions, and misuses of the Bible embedded in their homophobia, racism, and demonization of immigrants and Muslims, and in their alliance with big business against the interests of American workers. Hendricks offers an urgent warning that right-wing evangelicals' aspirations for Christian national supremacy are a looming threat not only to Christian decency but to democracy itself. Christians Against Christianity is a call to stand up to the hypocrisy of the evangelical right and a guide for Christians to return their faith to the life-affirming message that Jesus fought and died for. So I'm just going to say real quick, because I'm trying to understand the battery life on this. I'm about half on the battery. So I agree with some of that, and I might disagree with some of that too. I'm not easily swayed by just reading something that, oh yes, this person is absolutely right in every way. I'm appalled at how people have taken politics and married it into the message of Jesus. It's been an abomination in my view. But at the same time, I want us to. I do believe in the Bible, and even with all its apparent contradictions, it's the thing that makes the most sense to me, and so I'll have to see what he says here. I can't say right now for sure what's going on until I've had a chance to read it, but I'm not about people. I want to put a curb on the unchristian-like behavior that I see going on the far right, for sure. But then I have a problem with people that want to. I'll give you for an instance. I went to a church once, and they were accepting of gay people. And that's fine. Of course, I'm gay. But at the front of the altar, there was a rainbow flag. And I immediately was like, I'm done. Like, please don't do that. Just don't do that. We don't need to do that. And in fact, we don't even need the American flag up there. We just need the cross of Christ. It's not bound by any nationality, and it doesn't just belong to straight people. The message of Jesus. But also don't make Jesus your political poster person. It's just not cool. So that's just a for instance for me. So I don't want people to water down the faith by getting too far away from the Bible, and I certainly don't want them to take advantage of it and to try to create some theocracy, there's no biblical basis for that. Jesus never called for any of this stuff. So anyway, this sounded good. I wanted to get it. Next book. The Killing of Major Dennis Mahon, A Mystery of Old Ireland, by Peter Duffy. Are we getting the focus on there? Still there? Okay. There we go. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I just did something. Learning the camera. Come up here. At the height of the Irish famine, now considered the greatest social disaster to strike 19th century Europe, Anglo-Irish landlord Major Dennis Mahon was assassinated as he drove his carriage through his property in County Roscommon. Mahon had already removed 3,000 of his 12,000 starving tenants by offering some passage to America aboard disease-ridden coffin ships, giving others a pound or two to leave peaceably. Come on. And sending the sheriff to evict the rest. His murder sparked a sensation and drove many of the world's most powerful leaders from the Queen of England to the Pope to debate its meaning. Right, Daisy? You're so beautiful. I know. Now, for the first time, award-winning journalist Peter Duffy tells the story of this assassination and its connection to the cataclysm that would forever change Ireland and America. Dirt cheap book, little trade paperback, Harper Perennial. I thought it sounded interesting. I want to check it out. Found another Penguin classic. With those orange spines, or off orange spines, but this is some Chinese history here. This is an older version, you can tell. This is by Jonathan D. Spence. Come on, Daisy. This is The Gate of Heavenly Peace, The Chinese and Their Revolution. In this masterful, highly original approach to modern Chinese history, Jonathan D. Spence shows us the Chinese Revolution through the eyes of its most articulate participants, the writers, historians, philosophers, and insurrectionists who shaped and were shaped by the turbulent events of the century. By skillfully combining literary materials with more conventional sources of political and social history, Spence provides an unparalleled look at China and her people and offers valuable insight into the continuing conflict between the implacable power of the state and the strivings of China's artists, writers, and thinkers. Now, this book came out in 1981. So obviously it's he's talking about the past. I'm not sure where he left it coming up to modern times, but outstanding notes and bibliography. I think I've heard of Jonathan D. Spence before, but yeah, I picked up that. I think I have two more. Now, I think I have this in hardcover somewhere, but I wasn't sure, and it was so cheap. Like $2 or $3. This is A Nervous Splendor. Vienna, 1888 to 1889 by Frederick Morton. I think I have it in hardcover. But I remember I really liked it. I did read this, but I wanted to read it again. It's another Penguin Classics with an orange spine. On January 30th, 1889, at the champagne-splashed height of the Viennese carnival, the handsome and charming Crown Prince Rudolph fired a revolver at his teenaged mistress and then himself. The two shots that rang out at Mayerling in the Vienna woods echo still. Frederick Morton, he was the author of the Rothschilds, deftly tells the haunting story of the prince and his city, where, in the span of only 10 months, the Western dream started to go wrong. In Rudolph's Vienna, moved other young men. What? There's a typo on the back of this book. I guess Vienna at the time was filled with other young men with striking intellectual and artistic talents, and all as frustrated as the prince. Among them were young Sigmund Freud, Gustav Mahler, Theodor Herzl, Gustav Klimt, and the playwright Arthur Schnitzler, whose Laurent was the great erotic drama of the fin de siècle. Morton studies these and other gifted young men, interweaving their fates with that of the doomed prince and the entire city through to the eve of Easter, just after Rudolph's body is lowered into its permanent sarcophagus. Oh no! And a son named Adolf is born to Frau Clara Hitler. It was like $2, maybe, if that. So I decided to get it. And then the last one I got is a fiction. It's a mystery. This is Nicola Upson. I think I might have mentioned to you guys in that last book haul that I did that I'm trying to collect all the mysteries of the Josephine Tay mysteries that Nicola Upson writes, because I had read and reviewed number 6 in the series for Historical Novels Review, and now I wanted to go back, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to go back and get to know her characters from the beginning, so I'll be starting that series from the beginning. But this one was also $2, and it's the hardcover of her most recent book. Like, she just wrote this mystery. This is The Dead of Winter. A snowbound island, a glittering party, a Christmas to die for. So I think this is the 7th book in the series. And I won't be reading it right now. I want to read the others first, but I wanted to get this while it was still available for $3 or something like that, and it's hardcover. So that, my friends, was 2 separate orders from Book Outlet, and I have one more to do for you. So I think I'm at 45 minutes. We'll see how this camera has handled things. I hope it's been good for you. Daisy, it's been good for you?
Ugh, I can't talk right now.
She's a good girl. Alright guys, well I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. I'll upload this. Let me know if everything sounds and looks okay, if there was any issues that I wasn't aware of. Fingers crossed that this works, but again, this will offer me a lot of new options for filming, which is going to be great. Alright, well, until next time, BookTube, thanks for joining, thanks for likes and comments, and subscriptions, as always. I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.